the invitation is to be the ones who say yes to the Lord, to be the ones who live differently, to be the ones who risk everything, who hold nothing back, and give themselves in all that they are, mind, strength, soul, heart, totally to the gospel, in response to His goodness, animated by His goodness, made possible by His grace, and to be, these, to be the John of the Crosses and the Teresa of Avilas for the next generation, and that happens just through the radical living of the gospel of loving God and neighbor.
Poco a poco vamos a llegar. Somos peregrinos, and you know that's who we are. We make our way. Hey, hey.
Hey, I'm Father Mark Mary.
Hey, I'm Father PT.
What's wrong with you?
Hey, I'm Father Innocent, and I want to talk about the Poco.
Hey everyone, Father Angel's here. We were just talking about having a Poco pilgrimage. Just wondering if you're all interested.
I just felt like you steamrolled that
Yeah, I
conversation.
felt like you
as if
just weren't listening to my ideas.
Yeah.
We were talking about obedience.
Well,
we
we're
need to
going to
listen.
talk about it right now.
Do you feel reverenced and honored by that
Wow.
movement? I don't feel
Everything on the
reverenced and
table, bro. You want to get some things on the table? Let's put some things on the table.
honored. I'm gonna put some things on the table right now.
I'm ready.
That was fun. That felt like we were airing some stuff.
Thanks for letting me get that out. We're ready. Love and generosity.
Would it be a pilgrimage? Would it be a cruise?
Okay.
Or a cruise
I'm open.
pilgrimage?
We're not going on a cruise.
Cruise pilgrimage.
Whoa.
Oh, you guys don't like.
Whoa, don't
you guys
back away
don't.
from the cruise so quickly.
We're talking about a Poco to celebrate 200 episodes. We're not there yet.
We're at 175, but at 200, we wanted to do something fun.
I could see an Alaskan cruise.
Not that
No.
it's about me, but there's more likely a chance of there being chicken fingers and French fries on a cruise as opposed to on a pilgrimage like at a resort.
Guys, we're not going on a cruise.
Why not?
Because we're Franciscans. We don't do that.
Yeah, I bet you can find a Franciscan cruise.
No, it's okay if you just beg for it. If somebody else pays for it, you can do whatever you want.
Nope, that's not what we teach guys.
What if we
Spirit.
went? What if we flew to Japan and went a cruise around where
You guys
St.
lost the
Maximilian
whole
Kolbe?
inspiration.
I just really got
pilgrimage?
excited about cruise.
I had to have a formation moment with somebody. It was a smaller one. It wasn't a big deal, but it was like somebody gave them like a donation for McDonald's or something like that. It was it's a younger brother, and it's like, and it was just the conversation of like, okay, like do you guys like, do you still have to bring this? So somebody gives you money for McDonald's, can you just assume to go to McDonald's with it, or is it good to still sort of like
Communicate?
ask your, especially if you're in early in life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's like somebody else had told him, no, if they gave it to you, you can if they give it to you for something like that, you can just use it and you don't even have to ask. Like, well, then where does that end? You know what I mean? It's like here's $1,000 for your own little have a good time.
Petty cash.
Yeah, one of the brothers mentioned that you don't want to have you don't want to give things up and then have like this store, like kind of your own little envelope.
Sure.
You know.
I have some.
Speaking of envelopes,
You want to just open and honest?
I feel like I find Dunkin' Donut gift cards like everywhere. I'm like, oh, that was for so-and-so, and it just ended up in my backpack for 3 years. We should use that. It's not like I'm spending it on myself,
Right.
but I just kind of forget it's there.
talk about all on the table. Let's put that to the table too.
I'll take you out to Dunkin' Donuts, bro.
All right.
Speaking of funny things that postulants say, we have a moment. I heard one of them say, I don't know where he got this. He answered the door, came to me and said, hey, so-and-so's at the door. Can I give him some food? Sure, bro, whatever. And then I heard him tell the other postulant, man, I hear in novitiate we just don't have to ask permission for that stuff anymore. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm like, novitiate? Like you're asking permission to walk up the stairs, bro.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny. I was like, where did you get that?
The idea
Like
that
somehow it's going to be less than novitiate. Where's he? Anyway.
Can we go back to the pilgrimage?
yeah. So go ahead. Do you got some
I don't
thoughts?
have anything. I just wanted to redirect the conversation.
Here's
I think we should start with a shrine. Like, well, we have to work backwards. Like, what
Our
do
Lady
you
of Guadalupe?
want? Our Lady of Guadalupe.
I've
What
never
are
been.
what are? Go ahead.
I've never been to Guadalupe, so I'd love to go.
I love to.
Not
as
that
well.
this is about me once again.
I'm trying to face my beloved here. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to face my beloved, but I've never been.
I'm gonna, as a second chair, I'm gonna allow Father Mark Mary to
All
speak.
one chair. We're all one chair.
just-
Bro,
cut you-
let's
bro,
be
we've
honest.
cut you
We're
off.
not all sharing a chair. You know, you would never allow that.
It's a proverbial figurative chair.
We're gonna let you speak now, though, because we've been
Okay.
cutting you off.
So here's like, let's just everything on the table, just brainstorming. But here's probably, I think we're in agreement of some things that have to be there for the pilgrimage to happen, right?
Rob just needs to pay attention.
Chicken fingers and French fries,
Yes.
Great.
wine, cheese, charcuterie board,
Yes.
sauces,
Check.
Bowling.
bowling, and somebody to gamble with me on small things.
What's
And then,
what's Father and
Early mornings.
Father,
A chapel. Of course, there's gonna be a chapel.
there's gonna be a chapel. LaCroix probably all around.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Definitely.
Okay, but what is the? I'm still like I'm a kind of a focused
Bro,
guy. So
don't
what's
be
the,
a dream hater. We got to start with dreaming.
Yeah. We're still in the dream phase.
What's the end? Like
Obviously,
Who are we going to
relationship
see?
with the Lord.
Celebrating.
It's not about. It's the journey.
Yeah,
It's not about the end.
it's not about the
Celebrating
season.
200 episodes. That's the end.
We could go to Guadalupe. We could go to Assisi. We could do anything.
Getting the heck out of here is what that end, bro. Getting the heck out of here. Getting spoiled.
you're gonna be a local servant, you can make decisions now. You are already.
I'm there.
Already a
Yeah,
local
I'm a
servant.
local
Already a
servant.
local servant.
Uh-oh. You might
It
have a
always
tougher
comes
time.
back to the
You
fourth
might-
chair, doesn't it? It
you might
always
have a
comes
tougher
back to
time.
me.
Busy.
Yeah.
Well,
Your local servant's a little tough. So
Well, I mean, I felt like that was a productive conversation to begin,
Mhm.
but I'm still focused on like who we going to see.
Our Lady.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'm
let's
happy.
go. Let's go. Go ahead.
I'm happy to go to Guadalupe. I'm happy to go to Lourdes. I'm happy to go. Well, you've been to Lourdes a number of times.
But Lourdes is great.
Same thing.
I'm gonna go to Lupe. I'm happy to go to.
Fatima. I've been to
Assisi?
Fatima. I've Assisi. I'll go to Assisi.
Michelle Benzinger. We just go down to Pensacola. See a hiding together.
Mm.
She probably could accomplish all of this stuff that's on our, non-negotiable.
On our rider.
Yeah. But
Do we want to listen to some feedback from the people who
Definitely.
actually listen?
Feel free.
to this.
Feel free.
Where do you want to go?
the pilgrimage would be just us four.
Actually, are we inviting other people? I'm not quite sure. That's the.
Nobody else wants
Where
to
do people
go.
wanna
They'll
go?
carry him in our hearts.
Just give
So
me.
here might be where we're on a different page. Is I'm not pretending this is an actual reality that can
See,
happen.
I
Whoa,
am.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You're pretending. Wait,
I'm
sorry.
not having this conversation as if a Poco pilgrimage is something that would actually happen.
Why are you a dream killer? I
Well,
thought there was like gas
It's
in the
not
car.
going to happen.
Like-
I live in reality.
Kind of
thought
like
there
all
was-
trying to do a live episode at Seek. It just that went really well.
We're not all going to go somewhere together for an extended period of time
Why not?
because it's just not real.
Wow. I see what your priorities are.
I'd be very happy to do that.
Why don't we
Are
spend
you
one
happy
Monday?
to do it?
We have one Monday in July coming up. Why don't we?
I'm not going to be there.
Does anyone disagree about this not being feasible?
Only when you don't dream, this does not become feasible. Like
I
if
feel like
you're-
this is an energy drink conversation right
All
here.
right, all right.
I feel like we're feeling that.
I think that's why maybe Father Innocent and I were having a different approach. He was concerned about the people.
I just wanted to.
There are no people. There is no pilgrimage. This is all a dream.
I don't like. Okay, so if we say 2 years out, like if you put in the calendar, why can't it happen?
Yeah, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to.
It's all on the table, bro.
It's all on the table. I'm saying like if people would go, like
People
we're
would
just throwing
go.
out there, people would want to go,
People would go.
and Rob would think this is a good idea. 2 years out, I think we'd be like, hey, I think we get 10 days, 7 to 10 days to do this.
All I'm saying is there are people, and not to like belittle you, Father Angelus, Father Innocent, myself. There are people in our community who have a lot more to do that go on pilgrimages.
Correct.
So why can't we make it happen?
I don't.
That's all. You don't have to answer the question now. But I'm just
Can,
saying.
can it be like a mission trip?
Look, I think it's just.
We gotta go.
No, there's not.
bro.
There's not charcuterie boards.
I'm not
on
really
mission
into
trips, bro.
Is this,
pilgrimages.
so you don't want to do pilgrimage? Is that
I'm not
what's going
super
on?
into pilgrimages that much.
Okay,
I'm
see, now
sorry.
we're getting at see.
Now we're getting
I'm not
into
gonna.
it.
But I
I'm
mean,
mining for conflict here. That's what's going on.
I just wanted to pray with our people.
you're so good.
So this is the final episode, really.
That was a good run. This is what broke us up.
Yeah.
About that pilgrimage
I told you, bro.
or mission trip.
Everything's on the table.
We're all gonna go do our solo careers.
Can we do like half and half, like a Mexican, like Isla de Guadalupe, 5 days and like 5 days of mission trip?
Mexico City,
Well,
bro.
I've already been to Guadalupe now, so it might be a little bit like Tanganyika again.
Sorry.
All right, we have 40 minutes. I'm just.
This was fun though. Hey, if you guys were all on board, I'd 100% make myself on board for this. But you have.
He doesn't believe we are.
No, I don't think.
Do you know how hard it is to get us to be in a room once a month together?
But I'm saying if it's not like we're doing it next month,
Correct.
we could say 2-3 years from now.
Did you notice he added a year like every time he brings
But I'm
that point
just
up?
because like I just want to couch your anxiety here. Like, okay, we're not saying next week let's go on a pilgrimage.
Bro, I have
think
a
How
lot
many
of
people, how many listeners do you need to say this is a good idea, like inspired for you to be like,
Well, there's limits to these things. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I just don't know that it's a realistic thing. And sometimes,
I'll pray about it. I'll discern.
Sometimes a little distance between,
Yeah, let's talk about it on the 199th episode.
People meet you guys and they're like, oh, these guys are great. They don't always have that impression of me. sometimes a little different distance between me and the listener is helpful.
The listener is good. Speaking of distance, let's.
This guy's pushing hard. I'm tempted to keep the conversation going just to keep you hearing.
this is Father Andrew's fourth episode.
Everybody knows that number 4 is really difficult for me, even with the energy drink.
Don't crocodile arms it, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do it with freedom?
I'm all in. Let's just all do the crocodile arms together. It's kind of,
Just don't touch me.
it's kind of like prayer hands during mass.
It's a little bit.
All right.
Do you keep yours in?
What do we got?
We have the final episode,
Love generosity.
the 8th episode of an 8-part series on A Fire Within by Father Thomas Dubay,
Interesting.
which is taken from the wisdom of St. Teresa of Avilas and John on the Cross, published and distributed by Ignatius Press. Would you like to introduce this last episode, Father Pierre Toussaint?
No, I was just pointing. It was generosity. Just the word.
Beautiful. So this is part of. So it's Father Dubay has a title of a section within kind of the ongoing kind of like conditions for growth called loving generosity, and in some ways we've talked about it in the past, but in a different sense we've talked about in the past just this. If you desire to be serious about growth in prayer, it's not just about doing kind of the basics, but it's about this like very, very generous, like total gift to myself. I'm gonna give as much as I can, not the minimum required, and that remains true. Love and generosity is here is used in a slightly different way, and it kind of has an initial presentation and then a bit of a movement and development. What he really talks about at the beginning, under the section on love and generosity, is the abhorrence of sin. And he quotes St. Teresa of Avila talking about her abhorrence of sin and just the strength of it. And we're going to kind of the first part of the episode, we'll talk about that, and then we'll develop on. I don't really just want the final episode to be like
About sin.
yeah, just hate sin, and especially because some of her words are pretty strong. So I'm just going to share this, and then we'll talk about it, and then kind of develop it into fraternal love, and then we're going to kind of have a proper conclusion to the series. It's just a bit of a just a bit of a reminder of what we're talking about and why we're doing it, and kind of like almost like a sending forth to everybody. Okay, so this is page 127. No, that's not talking about. That's me. That's me saying it's on page 127, but my own words. So we're not going to read that first quote because that is a quote by me. So we're going to go to page 128, and this is Saint Teresa of Avila. This is Saint John. This is Father Dubay talking about Saint Teresa of Avila.
Wow.
She would rather die 1,000 deaths than offend God knowingly. She would rather die 1,000 deaths than offend God knowingly. That's not just talking about mortal sin. That is talking about any sin. So I'm not there yet. Poco, little by little. But I think there's something to that of like when you're actually properly oriented in your relationship to God, and your goodness and His goodness, and what He's done for us and who He is, and you really, really deeply love Him, right? You have you just are repulsed at the idea of hurting or offending God. And I imagine many like parents have had this experience. The one that resonates most with me, just kind of sort of naturally, would be like a father with his own, like his young daughter, and the first time maybe like he does something that like scares her or makes her sad, and how just terrible you feel doing something like that, making her sad or kind of like hurting her, not meaning to do it. And it's like, oh, this is the worst feeling in the entire world. And I think that as we actually grow to really love God and his radical vulnerability and the radical gift of himself, I think that's like a human experience, which kind of translates like, oh, the last thing I want to do, if anything, is to offend like the Lord and his goodness. And I just love him so much. And so the idea of intentionally hurting him, as Saint Teresa says, is just like, well, this is what Saint Teresa says. She'd just rather die 1,000 deaths than offend God lovingly because of how much she loves him and his goodness and his dignity.
Yeah, and I mean, just maybe the only thing I would highlight there is that this is when it's absolutely become about love, right? We're just not avoiding sin or managing sin because I'm like supposed to, or the Christian life says to do these things, right? It's not really like behavior, but I think at the heart of it, and sounds a bit romantic, but I think at the heart of our relationship with God, it is he desires us to be lovers, right? He desires us to be captivated by his own love and his own presence so much that it is like, it's just about love, right? And so we're so it's just such a heightened sense too. And again, I grieve my own sin in this. I grieve my own capacity to be distracted, right? Because, if we even just like, we just ask for the grace to see and to experience in just a deep way the way he loves us and has mercy on us. Like, how could my heart, and I think there's something about Francis's own life here, how could your heart not just like weep for our sin or like have a deep sorrow for sin because of the way that Jesus has loved us and had mercy on us, right? So I think it's just beautiful to know that this is what we're talking about, that this is precisely when it's become all about love. And my relationship with God is not like this checklist or this mere kind of like, managing my behavior to live in a Christian way, but it's about love. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes, or I'm willing to give up everything rather than to hurt him, right? It's just really beautiful and striking.
Yeah. And analogy's limp, but it would be something along the lines of, right, in a human relationship where as you get to know somebody, the things that hurt them. Like when I say this thing, they can be offended, or when I do this specific action, like it hurts them. And not just talking about like surface level things, but actually deeply hurts them. And then as I get to know them better, like when I don't do certain things, it also hurts them, and just to kind of like put that into the experience of Saint Teresa, or just like as we're going in love with the Lord. And obviously it's kind of clear as far as the commandments, but even more so like when I basically like sins of omission and commission, right? Like when I don't do something, omission, like, okay, that still has an effect on the Lord and how I'm able to respond to grace or respond to an opportunity. Or when I like don't do something, that still has an effect on him. And just to grow in sensitivity to that is what happens when we're just in love with him. And as we grow in prayer, just in sensitivity to his heart, like our hearts become more tender and sensitive to like how we just don't fulfill sometimes the tasks that we have promised him. And like, right, the whole goal is that we try to be as faithful as we can, given the circumstances and situations, specifically, once again, being attentive to that tender heart that beats for us. And so like, it's almost the same thing, you know what I mean? Where like, I rather, like going back to the father thing, like I rather something like very, very bad happen to me as opposed to my daughter, or like I rather as a husband, I rather like, whatever. It's just like, let the worst thing happen to me as opposed to my wife or my family, you know what I mean? So like, it becomes like self-sacrificial, but like, it's just kind of interesting. This is why analogies limp, where like, what does it look like with God where, I rather something bad happen to me as opposed to God. Like it doesn't really translate in that way. But I think what translates is like the love and the desire that we have to like not offend God, but like this actually he's honored and he's loved in the way that he should be as far as the one that we love, the one that we walk with, the one who is always attentive to us. And so, as we grow in prayer, I think that's something that obviously St. Teresa experienced, but even more so we can experience it just with the sensitivity of heart to sin and to even our own actions.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's probably just like when maybe you're newer in the spiritual life, or like in an immature way, not necessarily in a bad way, but just new. Like sometimes when we think like the more I grow, the more I get into this, the easier it'll be, and maybe I'll just sin less, And so, but it's actually you start to be more sensitive to sin the more you go, right? And this is what we're talking about. Like I'm more sensitive because I'm most likely in these stages not in mortal sin, right? But I'm more sensitive to the littlest sins, right? When sometimes you're like, no, you're really good at something, you just don't care anymore, or you're not aware of these little things anymore, which is actually the complete opposite, right? So these little things we start to recognize that these little things the Lord even wants. The Lord even wants us to offer those things to him, or consider how these things, these little things, these little annoyances, these little preferences, these little things that I keep for myself are still in the way of a deeper relationship with the Lord, right? So this is like the invitation of generosity is even those things. And thank God again, like our hearts can be, pricked a little bit by the way we might sin or that we might hold on to things. But yeah, it's just beautiful because to pay attention to the more and more we desire God, the more and more we walk with him, the more and more there's a beautiful grace to be like, oh man, like the big things aren't a problem, but there's these other things that I still want to stand against and still want to offer to the Lord. It can be tricky, or it can be what am I looking for? Subtle. It can be subtle, but the grace is beautiful, where we can start to say, no, I want to give those to the Lord as well.
And maybe what to kind of go back to what Father Innocent said is, I think that's the idea. Is like it has to get to a point where it's not just a following of rules, and it's not just a duty, right? But it's actually like you actually come to love God and act and have a heart that acts in accordance with the fact that you love him. And I think part of it, you just get so sort of overwhelmed by like his mercy and his compassion and his pursuit of us, and you start to make sense of the depths of what it means for Jesus to have done what he did. And when that really takes hold, and all those kind of little light bulbs really go off, it's like you just come to see sin in a much different way. And the ingratitude behind it, and just again, it's not just like, okay, like I broke the rule, I'm not supposed to break the rule, or I broke not to go to confession, but it's like, oh, I showed ingratitude, and I offended the all holy one, the all good one, and the all kind of like vulnerable one. It really, I really think it changes. We gotta get to that point. And so that's just this loving kind of ongoing generosity towards the Lord, of giving him everything, of pursuing him, of really, really developing this kind of love relationship with him is where we got to go. And then like you'll experience, if you like she talked about like an intentional sin against God, like it just leaves you feeling kind of like just like dirty and like sad, like, oh, you deserve so much more than that, Lord. But to kind of go on to the next part, and then we'll bring it home, is this is her being pretty intense again, which is sort of consistent. So this is same section, same chapter, page 129. This is Saint Teresa. A nun who will not love her sister is a Judas in the house. She says her blood runs cold as she speaks of a nun's being angry with another because of some hasty word. There's one more part of this quote that's like, we're just going to share it for fun. Okay, so this is just intense. All right. St. Teresa declares, this is the quote: "Drive away this plague," meaning lack of charity and sort of division in a religious house. "Drive away this plague. Cut off the branches as well as you can. And if that is not sufficient, pull up the roots. God deliver us from a convent into which it enters. I would rather our convent caught fire and we were all burned alive." That's St. Teresa of Avila. Throw that on a little flowery saint card. Put it up in your room, huh? That's going to be the name of our pilgrimage.
I wish. What's the name?
I would rather our convent caught fire. Convent caught fire.
Convent on fire.
But anyway, that's what we did.
But she's making a point.
What's the point she's making, Father Innocent?
I mean, it's about it's about love. I mean, like she says in the next page, prayer is primary, but it cannot be severed from fraternal love. You cannot have prayer without love, fraternal love, right? It's love God and neighbor, right? And so what she's saying, her blood boils, and she would rather, like, basically that her convent would not exist. Like it would, like, shut the whole place down.
Yeah.
If there are going to be sisters who think that we can, like, make this all about prayer, but then not love your sister, like that.
Very nice. That's well
translated.
covered. Thank you.
Shut the whole place down.
No, but that's it though, right? And it's the same thing with St. Francis. Like there's two movements of prayer. It's to the Lord and to one another. You cannot separate them. Father Andrew said that a lot. You want to know, and he was quoting St. Teresa when he would teach us about this. He said, if you want to know how you're growing in prayer, it is you, as you walk out the chapel, your experience of the way you love your brother. That's how we understand our growth in prayer. So I love the boldness there. Like, there's no room for mediocrity. Like, we cannot settle in our relationships and just be like, and I had a moment recently where I kind of grieve this, and I'll say it general enough because there's no judgment. I just felt bad for a friend of ours that is really struggling to forgive his family, and he doesn't listen. So it's kind of protected here. But like, the idea is that I realized how hard it is. Like, what we're talking about. Obviously St. Teresa doesn't, spare any words to talk about the intensity. But what we're talking about is at the heart of Jesus. It's the heart of the gospel for forgiveness and love of your brothers and sisters. But he just couldn't do it. And so we didn't have much of a conversation about it because he just felt like, I can't do it. There was no openness. But it left me grieving, because Jesus has a deep desire that if we are called to grow deeper in prayer, you have to give Jesus permission to come into those places where you feel like it's impossible to love your family, your friends, the people around you, especially those who have hurt you. I know it's not easy, and it might take your whole life. But I think this is the point. It's the intimacy with God, so he can do these impossible things of helping us love when we don't think it's possible, right? So, it's serious.
Yeah, and it's the whole love God with your whole heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself, right? Like, you can't separate both of them, right? It's not one or the other. And there's just something it's just so deep, and I don't even know how to explain it, but like, when you get betrayed by a friend, you know what I mean? Like, we all have experiences about this, and I could go off on different tangents, but I won't. But in particular, I'm just always reminded whenever I hear Judas of a particular teacher we had in seminary. He'd always cause, like, whenever somebody would say something against him or his teaching style, he's like, "You Judases, you stab me in the back." But there is something, obviously, with the betrayal of Judas with love himself, Jesus. Like, there's something heart-wrenching, and like, once again, we've all experienced it in our own lives where we think we have somebody who's in our corner, and then, like, next thing you know, they're betrayed. And so that's interesting on a human level. But then once again, it's something that's even more, I guess, not even interesting, but it's just heart-wrenching when it's the Lord. You know what I mean? When he's put us in a place to love those around us. And so often, like in family, right? It's very easy to love friends. It's very easy to love coworkers sometimes, or like people outside of the realm where I'm in. But then, like, the question is, like, how am I loving my brothers and sisters, my husband, my wife, or like those who I'm in close contact with day to day? And it's tough, and that's why the gospel demands of us. But once again, the truth is, like, if we are like bringing this before the Lord, and it's something we had recently in the gospels, as far as the Our Father, and forgive us, Lord, our trespasses, we forgive those who trespass against us. Like, it's tough. But once again, it's not on our own. Once again, it's coupled with love God with your whole heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And so if we're able to pour into one, we'll see the fruits of the other. But we're fooling ourselves if we think that I can just kind of hold back on my love for my neighbor. I'm still going to love God. Well, are you actually loving God? And St. Francis talks about it in the admonitions, right? Like, how it's easy to love. Let's talk about this in the admonition. How it's easy to love God, sometimes we don't love our neighbor who we see. Like, how are we going to pretend like we love God who we don't see? Right?
Yeah.
And so there's just a fact where, like, okay, like I say I'm Catholic, I'm Christian, but there's still something in my heart that just can't be moved for this person. And situations are all different. I'm not saying that they're all the same, but can I find the space in my heart to love my neighbor, in whatever shape that for that looks like, as far as praying for them or just offering it to the Lord. But once again, just being moved in this way, that prayer does move me towards loving my neighbor.
And that's where I wanted to. There's a lot of very, very good stuff that we're not going to cover in our series, and I wanted to end with this because I do, and it's in some ways it's how we began. Is there? I do think that there is a temptation to sort of to hide and to live a little bit in denial in our prayer lives and our spiritual lives, and we can have a pretty focused relationship with the Lord. That's like, okay, well, here's what I'm doing in the chapel. Here's my prayer. Here's the journal. Here's the things that I'm doing, and it can be pretty self-focused, and it cannot be examined in light of, okay, so how are we doing with charity? How are we doing in love of our spouses, of our children? How are we doing in relationship with our roommates, our coworkers, things like that? And it's like, okay, I go to the chapel and I'm super good at that hour, and then I go and I'm just like a brat face and whatever in all of these other relationships, and I'm gossiping and I'm nitpicking and I'm doing all this sort of stuff. And it's like, hey, we just got to be honest. Like this is again, love of God and love of neighbor. Like they go together. And this has been a series very much, again, according to the mind of St. Teresa and St. John on the Cross, which is the mind of the gospel, which is the whole. It's not, prayer's not isolated. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's the whole thing. But again, just I think we want to remind our audience of this at the end of like, okay, yeah, but it's about union with God. It's about prayer. It's about going deep. It's about personally cutting back from distractions. But it's also about charity, and it's about communion with others. And this is, as we've said, the mark of the authenticity of our prayer is going to be the authenticity of our love and charity towards other people. And that if we're just kind of jerk faces, we can't lie to ourselves that our prayer is totally awesome and kicking butt, because that's just not how it works. Is that true?
It's true.
Very true.
100%.
Truth has been spoken.
Truth.
Okay, so now just the last, as it says here, we'll conclude with a rah.
Let's go pray.
Let's go pray, everyone. Everyone's called to it. Convo. That was fun. All right. We need some energy drinks. We need some.
I'm ready. I'm ready to jump in when you are. I think everybody's going to take a round. I'm ready.
Big push to the end here.
Big push.
Yeah.
Last push.
And tell your face, bro. Tell your face.
Dream of the pilgrimage.
Apparently, you don't want to go.
French fries.
Bro, I don't really want to. If we're all going together, we're gonna have a great time. I'm in.
Yeah.
Pilgrimages just aren't my number one thing.
Just need to tell your attitude that.
Call me a bad person.
Well, I will.
You do gamble.
Convents got fired 2024. So this is just a reminder of like what we're doing. This John on the Cross, St. Teresa, that's the fire within. It did really inspire me and encourage me. And so we're going to kind of begin again, or end where we began. Just a reminder and just kind of like an encouragement. And these are two thoughts. So this is again from the very beginning, page 5. So a book on advanced prayer, a podcast series on advanced prayer.
Ooh, go on.
Is a book on advanced joy. It's a love story. It's a book about being loved and loving totally. As we're talking about being loved and loving totally. It's a book on holiness and the heights of the holiness to which the gospel invites us. And so the hope of this again was just to present again to our listeners and to ourselves, to encounter personally ourselves again, just the reality of the invitation. It's a reality to advance in profound and abundant joy in life. It's an invitation to the most profound of love stories. It's an invitation to an experience of being loved and of loving, which is beyond our expectations of what is possible, and it's an invitation to the heights of holiness beyond which maybe we again. Like just the heights, the goodness of the heights of which we just it's hard for us to even begin to grasp because of how deep and how the goodness of the Lord. And so the invitation is to give ourselves totally to the Lord, to hold back nothing of ourselves, with the radical confidence again that he is never outdone in generosity, and that he always responds to generous souls by generously giving himself to us. You guys got anything to throw in there?
I do. Just quickly. I mean, I am grateful, Father Mark Mary. I mean, it was your idea to do this book, and I've read this book like on and off for the past 10 years. And the joke is that I'm a kind of a closet Carmelite. There's something in my heart that just really is really moved by the Carmelites. There's very few times in my own spiritual life, like consistently, I'm not reading about a Carmelite. Right now I'm reading about Saint Teresa Margaret of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. She's a new saint I am encountering. So this spirituality, that the grace just moves my heart. And so I'm grateful to be able to be with brothers and to invite our listeners to this. But with all that said, it's not, the blessing is that it's not just Carmelites, but it's for everyone, right? Something beautiful about St. John and St. Teresa of Avilas is that they profoundly believe that this is the call of all the sons and daughters of God, that every baptized soul has a capacity to live and pray in deep intimacy with the living God, right? And they attempt to kind of help us journey and give us a way to experience this. But it's for everyone. And this is the blessing, is that God infinitely desires you to be intimate with him, and desires you to pray way more than we could even fathom, right? So we hope to stir your desire and all of our desires to go deeper in prayer. But just remember that this is first a work of God. It's his movement. It's his heart for you, that you're made for intimacy and the height of intimacy. And this is what he desires for you, infinitely more than you can even ask or imagine, right? And we have a Father who loves us like this. And so this is God's will, that we become deep men and women of prayer, and he desires this for you, right? And there's a lot of different spiritualities. Carmelites, they're just bold and amazing, and they're the word, the journey, again, the flesh to the journey is just really, really, I think, clear and helpful. But no matter where you're at, like Jesus just desires this for you. And so we hope that this podcast has been helpful to just instill that hope. And once you taste it, you don't have to take our words for it. You know, we're just like wounded men who are just trying their best to get up every day and go deeper in prayer, right? But once you taste it, you know it's all true. You know that God is real, and it's all true.
And yeah, and I think, I don't know if this is an expression or somebody said this, but like the saints' lives are commentaries on Jesus. Does that make sense? Gospels, commentary on the Gospels, something like that. Right?
I think people have said it.
So I know somebody
like
said something along those lines. But to say that, anyways, whether it's St. John, St. Teresa, St. Francis, what they're all trying to do through the example of their lives, but even more so by them being faithful to the graces that have been poured out specifically for them, is by reminding us who it's all about, which is Jesus, and relationship with him, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And right, Jesus reminds us that I've come so that your joy may be complete. And so like some of these things that we talk about were heavy and difficult, and there's going to be times of just having to put things on the table and kind of bring the Lord into conversations, and just to know that it's always for the joy. Like it's always so that you can experience that joy that he desires for you to have. And so it can be complete. And so just to know that the relationship that we're invited to is a joyful one. At times it can feel like it's taxing or whatever it is, but just to know that the Lord's with you. And even more so that he desires just once again, the completeness of your heart. There might be something lacking at this point in time, but just to know that, just through St. John and St. Teresa, specifically through the inspiration of this book, that we can just not settle for just the mediocre prayer life that cool, I'm just getting base hits. Like, no, go for it. Hit a home run, go nuts. Specifically with the Lord, right? Specifically with the Lord, not at Atlantic City with Father Mark Mary. But
not going on pilgrimage in Atlantic City.
Yeah, no, that's where he wants to go. Mission trip to Atlantic City a year, right? But anyways, just like not to settle, but just to go for it. And I think that's what we had started off with in the very beginning. That's why we wanted to do this specific book, is so that way we can just kind of reach the heights, but with the Lord, specifically in a relationship with him.
To the fourth chair to close it up.
Little wing toss.
Appreciate the wink.
He's not really giving you. He didn't give you much of a smile over here.
Me? I mean, I'm definitely going to say, depending on what you say, I'm definitely probably going to say one more thing.
Oh no, I didn't expect. I'm not the closer by any means.
You want to close us in a prayer? No, imagine.
In the name of
And then they were, thank you, everyone. No, we've all been saying it, but it's like this whole thing has been pretty bold, pretty provocative, and quite uncomfortable. You know, and that's a good thing. It's good for us being uncomfortable. I'm our listeners being uncomfortable. Like, and I was thinking about like saints, especially Teresa and John in this way, St. Francis, like the saints we have in our life, like they interrupt us. They interrupt like the status quo, like our experience of just more so sometimes even not knowing it, just how comfortable we live. And so this is such a gift because in so many ways we're swimming waters. We have no clue what we're talking about. But this is the gift of the saints, and this is the gift of their proposal that this kind of life with Jesus is possible. And I need all of that to be interrupted. I need to be interrupted. I need to feel uncomfortable. I need someone to throw me a life raft and say, hey, this is what it's all about, right? And so just again, finally and fully, like as whatever doubt that you might have circling around that this is not possible for me, or like it's easy for you guys to say that because you can get up early and pray. I got to get up early and be with my kids, or all those things. Like we just want to reject and stand against any lingering doubt that this is not possible for everyone who follows Jesus, right? And the saints are not to be put up somewhere and far and distant, but the saints are to be inserted provocatively to make us uncomfortable so that we lean into the grace available to us, which is just this radical, awesome communion with the Lord, And so what if everybody listening to this podcast, and even us, like Father Mark, you've said time and time again, that reading this book, preparing for these episodes has been in a way life-changing for you and renewed your desire to go deep with the Lord, and for us as well. Like what if that could be the case for all of us? But we're going to allow ourselves to be interrupted. Everything's on the table, all because I want to grow. And I want to go deeper with the Lord. And I think it's really possible. And I think our listeners are like that. But if there's any lingering doubt out there, this very moment, stand against that and make another act of faith that this is what the Lord wants for you as well.
And this, I think what you're saying is kind of what Father Dubay talks about here, page 9 again. If people today or in any age lack mystical prayer, it's not because it has been tried and found lacking. It's the gospel that has not been tried, right? And just that this idea of just putting the saints out there, and it's like, well, okay, that was for them, but it's like, no, it's for all of us if we just respond wholeheartedly to the gospel. And just a little bit of a caveat. I'm going to start the caveat with a joke.
Okay.
This is a joke I told, which I thought was so funny, and I'm about to we'll see if you guys agree.
Gosh, I'm not gonna laugh.
Maybe. I feel like some people are gonna. I thought it was so clever. So I was doing this wedding, and it's like at the rehearsal dinner. It was like a missionary wedding, and so they took the opportunity to like honor the husband and the bride and the groom. And it was all very, 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 very like religious and pious and Catholic and beautiful and offering these things up, but it was like serious. And it was a lot. And of course, there's some people there who like just aren't swimming in those waters, aren't that's like not their worldview. And I just kind of had a heart that they didn't like, especially because they're like like best friends and family and loved ones of the bride and groom. I just didn't want them to be like isolated and like sort of feel like alienated by it. And so when I was. And just to like kind of get out of ahead of it and recognize it, when I was doing the homily, I basically said, like, just so we're all clear, like this is all like of religious ceremonies. This is like a very religious one, and like we are talking about spiritual stuff. We're talking about Catholic stuff, and this thing and that thing, and it's a lot, and it's out there. And I just want you to know that I recognize it, like, and I see it as well too. And I'm the guy up here, right? I'm the guy up here looking like he's the son of a wizard and a hobbit. And it's, the Lord of the Rings version of a golden doodle. And I thought that was so funny. The Lord of the Rings version of a golden doodle.
Did
a
people
mix
laugh?
Of different things. A few laughed. The wizard, the hobbit and the wizard thing got people.
Yeah.
But
a golden
the
doodle.
Lord of the Rings version of a golden doodle. I thought that was so genius. I thought that was so clever. Oh gosh.
Didn't land, huh?
No, it did. It did okay. But I mean,
it didn't really matter.
I needed everybody at the end of the wedding to be like, okay, great homily, beautiful. But what really you need to know, that Labradoodle, golden doodle joke, 10 out of 10. So feel free, listeners, go for it.
You said this was a caveat to a point.
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
Okay,
but it's just a genius. Like the two different types, the wizard, the hobbit, golden doodle, two different things.
You really ended this
Golden doodle.
Amazing series.
Father Andrews, you want to close us in prayer?
That's clever. But I use those words just to sort of be meaning the opening part of that whole thing of like, yeah, I get it's a lot. And I myself, who swim in these waters and should be sort of the expert of these things, can understand like, okay, that's pretty intense. And I think there's a point to which A Fire Within and these last 8 episodes have been like intense. We've talked about ecstasy. We've talked about locution. We've talked about abhorring sin and preferring the convent to be burned down than for there to be division. That's all
Pretty intense.
pretty serious.
Pilgrimages.
Intense. We talked about pilgrimages. and just to say that, yeah, okay, we get it. But at the same time, and I think we've done a good job of this, if just but this is just the depths and the heights and the realities of the gospel truly lived, and of what happens when we deeply give ourselves to the lives of prayer and to the experience of God, and that He really gives Himself to us, and that it's not ordinary because it's not these words and this language and these experiences and stuff like that. It's not ordinary for our ears to hear, and it can be a little bit dissettling because living out the gospel wholeheartedly is not ordinary. And we just have very few references and experiences of those who have totally given themselves radically to following Jesus. Because when people totally radically follow Jesus wholeheartedly and perseveringly, they change. And they live and they experience the world and life differently than people who are not radically in love with Jesus. And that's just kind of the reality. And so, but the invitation is to be the ones who say yes to the Lord, to be the ones who live differently, to be the ones who risk everything, who hold nothing back, and give themselves in all that they are, mind, strength, soul, heart, totally to the gospel, in response to His goodness, animated by His goodness, made possible by His grace. And to be, these, to be the John of the Crosses and the Teresa of Avilas for the next generation. And that happens just through the radical living of the gospel, of loving God and neighbor with everything we have. But again, obviously, it's first and foremost His work in us. And so I'll just conclude here with these words from Father Dubay in some of his opening chapter on page 11. I have come to cast fire upon the earth. How I would that they were already blazing. How perfectly this captures the contents of this book. The radiant image of the Father's glory has come to light a fire in us, a burning love, a consuming yearning. There is nothing lukewarm about the God of Revelation. Always radical and total. Never does He reduce what He expects of us to fractions. Our communion with Him is to become a blazing fire, a perpetual ecstasy. Amen.
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 That's the closer we like right there. That's what we're looking for.
Can someone maybe, do we pray still? Has someone not closed us with a prayer? Or is that the prayer?
I'm very happy to close it there.
Jesus, help us to live it. Amen.
Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen. What do you guys got? You got anything?
Anything.
All right.
I'd just like you to comment if you like go on a pilgrimage within the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, wow. We went to 5 now.
We were just trying to make this boy here happy, this guy happy.
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a retreat would be super easy. Low hanging fruit. We can make a little weekend retreat happen. No big deal. Pilgrimage?
At Guadalupe?
We're all going to get, we're going to get a week to 10, 12 days, whatever it is, to go on a pilgrimage. All of us?
If you carve out the time, it's possible.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I make this podcast a priority in my life.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm just kidding. Whatever.
Thank you, everyone. It feels like we're done with the podcast. We'll see you next week.
If you want to get out calendars, we can get out calendars.
Bro, I brought mine.
Do that real time. Could you
I
imagine?
trust in Jesus.
That's good. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks,
Peace, y'all.
Thanks, Father Dubay.
Poco a poco vamos a llegar. Somos peregrinos and you know that's who we are. We make our way. Hey, hey. Little by little we learn a little more each day that God is love. That life is short. That all will be well. know